I am standing between you and lunch, and so let's have some fun here. Before we dive into this, Kenny, I just got to say, I like the question of the AI buyers and sellers a lot. I do think that there's probably AI buyers, but if there's AI sellers, do you have to spiff them? We'll see. All right. Hey, everybody. Humor me for just a second. Show of hands, and please keep them raised. Who's focused on their services margins right now? I expected some more. Okay, some hands. Please keep them up. Who's focused on building out your partner network? Okay, more hands. Is anybody here working on setting the right expectations pre-sale, and that's a struggle today? All right, many hands. Now, only keep them raised if you are sure that these are the right priorities for your business today, and that everybody in the organization would agree with you. Some hands going down. I appreciate you hearing me on that exercise. I promise it's the last physical exercise I'm going to ask of you for the presentation. My name's Justin Manduke, and I've spent the better part of the last 15 years scaling professional services teams at SaaS companies. I've seen scale from 25 million in ARR to 450 million in ARR, gone through 2 IPOs and 1 acquisition, and I've made all of the mistakes that we're going to talk about together today. As you saw, we're all working on elements of our PS maturity, but it's difficult to align your organization on the right priorities at the right time. To illustrate that, I want to talk about what I see as an important paradox for growth stage SaaS companies. So let's start by discussing the purpose and the importance of professional services in software, where confusion can occur, and how you as a leader can align your teams and provide clarity to this paradox we'll describe. This is Dave Kellogg. And yes, this is slide 2 of my presentation, and we're only going to get increasingly zoomed in on people's faces, so buckle up. Dave says that professional services is here to maximize ARR while not losing money. This guy studied math at Berkeley, got his MBA, scaled SAP for 10 years, went to go run the services cloud business at Salesforce, and now is advising through VC. And this is the best he can come up with? Me make money, me no lose money, right? Come on. But there's truth here. And we got to break it down a little bit. There's a lot of truth in how we as professional services leaders can show up with the elements that make this sentence so true. So should we all just focus on selling as many recurring services as possible that are profitable? Let's come back to that. Capacity modeling, ensuring we have the right cost profile for delivery, automation to increase efficiency, building customer champions, supporting renewals and expansion, fostering prescriptive implementation methodologies, customer education. We're all focusing on a lot of these at a given time, so how can you choose? Should you make your professional services team big enough that it's essentially a second sales force, maximizing ARR? Can your PS team be as big as you want it to be if it's profitable? It's profitable, why not? When we talk about the health or heft of the SaaS industry at a given time, we talk about multiples on revenue that define company valuations. So can anybody tell me which of these lines represents the valuation of SaaS companies and which represents the valuation of consulting firms? You know who can? Your investors. If we raise money as a SaaS company and then start to need to generate a lot of cost or revenue on services, whoops. Whomever remembers that your calculus can quantify all of the enterprise value that you'd be giving up trying to maximize the share of your revenue that is professional services. We're all in the humble pursuit of putting ourselves out of a job. I tell my team of 60 this all the time. Why? Because I want to lead through fear, right? That's what we learned from Brian. No, I think we always need to help our teams to understand that the economics of the company that they're working for that the path to efficiency, especially in the era of AI, will be a catalyst for careers and allow us in high-growth SaaS to tackle the right problems. I currently work for the leading governance, risk, and compliance SaaS platform in the world, and my team is filled up of mostly ex-auditors, people from firms that live and die by selling as many services as possible. And a big part of our cultural transformation for both our veterans and for our newbies is helping them understand how to walk the SaaS walk and what business they're in. PS can often get the reputation that we are trying to maximize and protect our precious services hours and services engagements. But as leaders, we need to be squashing that narrative at every turn. This can seem like a chore for post-sale executives, but I can assure you that you are missing an opportunity for leadership if you're not taking that evangelism of what's important and that awareness through your team and in your discussions with other teams at your company. Might you have a services booking target or a margin target? Sure. But that should be set by finance or RevOps, not professional services. When you have a target, use it to set the right guardrails for discounting and give that ownership for discounting to the individuals who actually have the power to make that decision. If you have a target for margin, but you're getting flack daily about what you are or aren't willing to do on discounting, either you have a margin focus, but not a margin target, or your assumptions on what services pricing and effort it takes to acquire a customer are wrong. Which brings us to our friend, the rule of 40. You know, that thing you bring up at parties when you want to say, I'm not a venture capitalist, but I could play one on TV. If you want those sky-high valuations, your ARR and your free cash flow margin better add up to more than 40. The pinnacle, 40, right? Real fact, you know that 40 is actually the highest number ever counted up to on Sesame Street? I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so that's the level of my humor these days. Does it get any better than 40? Well, let's go back to Dave's quote. What's more important, growing software or achieving profitability? Last year, Bessemer updated the thinking with research not on the rule of 40, but the rule of X. Ooh, X. How sexy. So what's the rule of X? X is the multiplier that tells you how much more important ARR growth is than services growth and profitability. The rule of X is a new index, comes out to a bigger number that adds some heft and weight to software growth over profitability. And what we're showing is that the rule of X consistently is more highly correlated than the rule of 40 to valuations in our industry. It does a 50% better job of that on average over the past 10 years. Okay, Justin, I get it. I want to be a high-growth software company more than I want to be one that's super profitable, but how much more do I want that? Again, this is the X of the rule of X. This is data from Meritech, a different firm that's been tracking and discussing the thinking of this research over the last 12 months. So, Justin, are you telling me that we should be listening to sales? Well, this tells us that profitability becomes more important to your valuation only as your company's growth rate slows, and the degree to which how important should be a consideration of your long-term growth and services strategy. So how does your organization generate revenue? And more specifically, how is services part of the picture of realizing that revenue? Many of us have heard of sales-led growth and product-led growth. Which one are you? Because many of us are here at this conference representing services organizations, I would venture to guess that most of us are somewhere on the sales-led growth spectrum. But if you think you're growing through product-led growth, but you actually have a professional services team that is configuring customizable platforms for customers, I'm going to bet you about 10 points of margin that your gross margin actuals are going to end up about 10 points shy of target. In product-led growth, ARR looks like product usage, value realization, conversion to higher revenue through trials or freemium acquisition, product development, and then capturing more value by converting customers to higher paying customers. In sales-led growth, you have pipeline generation motions, alignment to value.